Hey, how's it going, everyone? Thank you for checking out this next video. Right, now obviously this is a little bit of a clickbait kind of title. You know, is YouTube a dystopian cesspit? It's a little bit clickbaity, but I thought this is quite an interesting topic and I just wanted to kind of address it. And I've basically got, I've written some notes on my laptop so I don't go off on a complete mad tangent, yeah? So I'm going to try and go through each of these points and hopefully I can kind of give a kind of a kind of a, I wouldn't even say a balanced opinion, but maybe actually a more of a positive opinion of YouTube and kind of content creation, you know, that word. So let's get started anyway, yeah. I think we're living in a time now where, me personally, like, you know, throughout the years I've kind of always embraced technology, but as I kind of start to get older, I started to become a bit more of a Luddite, and you know, I'll go through times where I'm not looking at screens, you know, I'm putting my phone down for long periods of time, you know, I'm putting it by the door, I'm doing like detoxes and whatnot, and absolutely, you know, I think this can do wonders for your kind of your mental health, but it does kind of seem like we're living in a time where technology and like social media platforms and whatnot, we're kind of I don't know, it's almost like we're kind of forced to kind of socialize through these mediums. Not forced, but it's kind of like habitually ingrained within us, and also to like partake in commerce and the economy. It seems that we're kind of being kind of pushed into this as well. But obviously on the flip side as well, you know, you can be in your bedroom or house, whatever, and you can make, you know, a ton of money just kind of like without leaving your house. I mean, in a way, it's actually an incredible time to exist. But still, I think, you know, on one hand, it can seem a little bit insidious how we're kind of like put in these digital boxes, and you hear more about how like the high streets are kind of closing down. You know, people don't buy from shops as often, and it's all kind of going digital, and at the same time, you know, while this is happening, you know, on one hand, you know, you might say this is great, but you know, who controls the internet, man? You know what I mean? Who controls the internet? Who controls the digital wave, the digital airwaves, or the kind of the fiber optics and whatnot? Who controls that? But conversely, you know, to get you to open a shop, you still need to go through all sorts of regulations, you know. So it's kind of like, whatever you do in this life, you have to abide by certain rules. You know, you have to kind of go through checks and balances and through gatekeepers. So it's kind of like, it doesn't really matter really to that you know, in that extent. And another thing is what I wanted to say as well is like, you know, at the end of the day, maybe this I mean, through my kind of like quote unquote research and the things I've heard, I do kind of believe that, yeah, this probably was by design, you know, many decades ago, and I don't think it was just something which happened organic. But we'll try and kind of flip it now in a positive sense, because, you know, this is not all bad. You know, this is not all bad, because you could argue, like, you know, it's a tool at the end of the day. Because while some people might be getting kind of ushered into a digital prison, you could hear the most incredible life-changing information as well broadcast through the internet, and these could be the, you know, the keys to your liberation, some of this information. So it's really, you know, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, I think as well, why it's an amazing place is, right now I'll try and articulate this in the best way possible, but it's like, no matter what you do as a human being in this life, you can't really transgress God, yeah? And I know this is a bit of a controversial word, God, you know, because I think people kind of, especially atheists, would like say there's no such thing, right? And fine, you know, obviously you're welcome to those kind of beliefs, but I'm kind of the thinking that there, you know, whether you want to call it God or a creator of this universe or this world, there's definitely a kind of intelligent design. And I think with like the internet, it's quite easy to kind of get into this mindset like, oh, we're being ushered into these little digital prisons and we're kind of being enclosed in these boxes. But in the end, it's like, you're communicating with the world via fiber optics, via fiber optics kind of coming from plastic or sand, or glass, sorry, glass coming from sand, plastic coming from the oil of the earth, and you are transferring your energetic signature through these fiber optics, for example, which came from nature, and they came from Mother Earth itself, these materials. And what I'm trying to say is, like, in that sense, you can't really transgress God, because you're always working within the parameters of God or the universe or the creator, or whatever you want to call it. It's like, there's an analogy, when they say, like, when they talk about a fish in the sea, a fish swimming around in the sea, you'd say, like, oh, did you know you're in water? And they'll probably be like, I have no idea, I'm just swimming about doing my thing, right? Same as, knowing that the creator or the universal intelligence or God or whatever you want to call it is within every fiber of this existence of life, So what I'm trying to say here is regardless of where you are always within the parameters of the creator, So I know this sounds a little bit out there, but it's kind of, I think maybe it's a good cope, just to keep me kind of sane, but yeah. Anyway, hopefully I don't sound too wild there. My wife said that my first video was a bit boring and a bit tight, but I don't want to come across as mad. But this is these just things I've been thinking about. You know what I mean? And I think as well, like, just to kind of go a bit more on the point about communicating through the fiber optics and whatnot. It's like I linked up with another YouTuber actually. A few months back, and we shot a video called Michael Mwonge. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Sorry. Basically, I saw a video of his many months ago, and I was like, wow, man, this is a cool guy, man. I feel like I'm on his kind of frequency. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why I reached out to the dude, because I can relate to him a lot. And even that to me is incredible, how you can kind of like see and hear someone's kind of energetic signature, through the, in terms of visuals and in terms of through the sound waves, which are transferred through the fiber optics, and you can be like, I can feel your energy. I mean, isn't that incredible? You can just feel someone's energy, although it's through, like, say, a recording, through a completely, it could be, halfway across the planet, for all you know. So in a way, it's like we're more connected than ever, and maybe and again, listen, I know the arguments for this. I do know the arguments for this, saying, against kind of globalism and the whole idea of kind of creating a monoculture. And some people, I hope these words don't get this video shadow banned or whatever, because I know words like globalism and stuff is not allowed. But anyway, I know the arguments to everything. I know some people will say, like, creating a monoculture and stuff could be is a terrible thing and whatnot, and we need, like, true diversity in the world. And yeah, I kind of get that, but maybe it is kind of like the next stage of the world is for, like, humanity just to kind of for us to understand our connectedness and our alikeness, even more so. And understand that, in the end, we are just energetic beings. We are vibrational, energetic beings operating on this planet, like, regardless of your race or culture. So I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking from this kind of, like, maybe a slightly more, I don't want to say a higher perspective, because who am I to say if that is higher or not? But just something a little bit not so mundane, and maybe as a kind of as a collective on the globe, maybe we are just meant to kind of be getting to each step of understanding and just progressing forward, not backwards, And again, like I say, I know the arguments for it and why people say this could kind of be co-opted and hijacked, and this could be a kind of a philosophy which has worked against us, and used to manipulate us. But I just think it's an interesting food for thought. But anyway, without going on too much of a tangent, I think whatever the future holds, I think the key is you need to move within a space of kind of like just integrity and trust, and without fear, you know, just move within a space of just love, you know. And I know that's a bit of a kind of a nebulous kind of term, but I just think we need to kind of just move in that kind of energy of just positivity over negativity. You know, I suppose these are kind of the two very, very basic energies, and I think as long as you keep it positive and you just keep smiling on the world, you know, and letting it smile back to you, what really can go wrong? Do you know what I mean? I think there's again, I know there's a lot of fear-based kind of opinions out there against kind of what maybe I just said, you know, is perhaps naive, but one thing I noticed in my, well, at least in the past, you know, 10, 20 years of my life, you know, how can I put it? I know, like, when bad things happen to you, when you kind of invite them through thought, you know, and how can I articulate this in as least abstract way as possible? It's like thought is a seed, you know. It's kind of everything. It's interconnected with everything, with the fibers of physical matter. If you walk this world with bad intentions, with a bad mind, it will come back to you. You know, people will mirror that to you. But if you walk with integrity and trust and love, this will be mirrored back to you. And honestly, it's like when I do walk with the latter, you know, the positive, this is all I experience. You know, this is all I experience. And I did a lot of kind of inner work, and yeah, it's a kind of trying to you know, trying to transcend the ego. And obviously, again, I know there's arguments, people saying, you know, you shouldn't be trying to transcend the ego. It's an important part of how you interface with life. And yes, sure, but you got to keep it kind of skillful, and you got to kind of keep on top of it and not let it get on top of you, if you know what I'm saying. So, of course, definitely, it's not about just kind of cutting the ego out of your life at all, but obviously you have to kind of, like, it's like riding a horse, you know. You kind of got to keep the ropes on. You don't want to just let it go off and do its own thing, because it's going to go and trample over some people, or it's going to kick a baby. You know what I mean? And we don't want to kick babies out here. So yeah, I think just going forward, that's what it's about really. So is YouTube a dystopian cesspit? Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, really, it's coming from, it's where you're coming from at the end of the day. What is your frequency? You know, what's your vibrational frequency? And I know this is new age stuff, and I know people say, oh, like, look, man, you got to find Jesus, and that's fine. That's fine, absolutely. Maybe I do. But I just think, really, it's a medium. This platform's a medium. And yeah, maybe we are being made into talking heads. Maybe I'm being made into a talking head by design, you know. Maybe this wasn't my choice at all. You know, this was perhaps the result of various think tanks maybe 20 years ago coming together and saying that we're going to make this platform and this is how people are going to kind of live their lives, you know. That could very well be possible, but at the end of the day, as long as you're moving within that frequency of trust, integrity, and love and whatnot, does it matter? Does it really matter? So yeah, I don't know. I'm probably speaking like someone who's waiting for, you know, Brave New World, just to kind of like I'm all about that Brave New World apparently, maybe from what I've been saying, but I'm not really. I'm just trying to look at things from a non-fear based perspective. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, that's it. That's hopefully that kind of made some sense, or maybe that's inspired some sort of kind of thoughts within you. And if you'd like to make a little comment on that, and yeah, I'm all for a little debate in the comments if you're up for that. But yeah, anyway, so I'm going to conclude on that, and hopefully I will see you and speak to you soon. Yeah, all right. So Alex signing out. Cheers. See you later.